The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of David Blackwood's penthouse office. He stood motionless, staring at the photograph in his hand. A woman with kind eyes smiled back at him. His mother, dead 15 years now, but the wound still bled fresh. His jaw clenched as he flipped to the second photo. Mia Carter, the woman who'd torn his family apart, the mistress who'd seduced his father and left his mother to die alone in that cold hospital room. Dora. The report on Evelyn Carter. His assistant placed a folder on the desk. David's fingers traced the name. Evelyn Carter, Mia's daughter, 26 office worker. Caring for her sick mother in a cramped apartment on the east side? Perfect. Arrange a meeting, he said, his voice ice. Make it look accidental. 3 weeks later, David sat across from Evelyn in a coffee shop, feigning surprise at the coincidental encounter. She was nothing like he'd imagined. No designer clothes. No calculated smile. Just exhausted eyes and hands wrapped around a cheap paper cup like it was her only warmth. I'm sorry. Do I know you? Evelyn asked, her voice soft, cautious. David Blackwood extended his hand, letting his charm unfold like a weapon. I think you dropped this outside. He held out her worn notebook, the one his assistant had strategically placed in her path. Her face flushed. Thank you. I can't believe I've been so scattered lately. Rough day? She hesitated, then something broke in her expression. Rough year. Over the next hour, she told him everything. Her mother's illness, the mounting bills, the double shifts. She spoke with the quiet desperation of someone drowning, unaware she was confiding in the man holding her head underwater. David listened, nodded, played the concerned gentleman. Inside, satisfaction coiled like a snake. This would be easier than he'd thought. He began showing up everywhere she was. The grocery store. The park where she ate lunch. Each encounter accidental, each conversation drawing her closer. He sent flowers to her office. Paid for her mother's medication anonymously. Made himself indispensable. 6 months later, in that same upscale restaurant where everything began, David knelt before her with a ring that cost more than her annual salary. Marry me, Evelyn? Let me take care of you. Your mother. Everything. Tears streamed down her face. Why me? I'm nobody. You're everything. He lied, the words smooth as silk and just as empty. She said yes. Of course she did. She had no choice. The wedding was a spectacle. Crystal chandeliers. White roses. Hundreds of guests. Evelyn stood at the altar in a gown that cost more than her apartment, looking like a princess in a fairy tale. But when David took her hand, his touch was winter itself. I do, he said, his voice flat, mechanical. I do, she whispered, and he saw it then. The flicker of doubt in her eyes. The fear that this was all wrong. Good, he thought. Let her be afraid. The reception blurred past. Champagne, speeches, dancing through it all. David wore his mask perfectly. But as midnight approached, and they left for his penthouse, he felt the weight of what came next. Revenge. Finally, the elevator doors closed, sealing them in silence. Evelyn's hand trembled in his. David, she said quietly, can I ask you something? What do you love me? The question hung in the air like a knife. David turned to her, his expression unreadable. Does it matter? The elevator dinged. The doors opened to his penthouse. He walked inside without waiting for her answer, leaving her standing alone in the hallway, her wedding dress suddenly feeling like a shroud. She followed him slowly, each step heavier than the last. The door closed behind her with a final, terrible click, and David turned to face his prey, ready to destroy her the way her mother had. Destroyed him. The penthouse was dark except for the city lights bleeding through the windows. Evelyn stood frozen near the door, her wedding dress suddenly too tight, too heavy. David loosened his tie, watching her with predatory patience. This was the moment. The beginning of her destruction. You should change, he said coldly. The bedroom is down the hall. She nodded, disappearing into the master suite. When she emerged 20 minutes later, in a simple nightgown, her face scrubbed clean of makeup. She looked even younger. Vulnerable. Good. Good. David approached her slowly, studying every tremor, every flinch. He'd imagined this moment 1,000 times. Her fear was supposed to satisfy the rage that had consumed him for 15 years. But when he reached out to touch her face, something unexpected happened. She didn't recoil. Instead, she looked at him with those clear, terrified eyes and whispered, "I know you don't love me, but I'll try to be a good wife. I promise." The sincerity in her voice cracked something inside him. He pushed it down, furious at himself. "Take off the gown," he commanded, his voice harsh. Her hands shook as she reached for the straps. "David, I need to tell you something." "What?" "I've never been with anyone before." The word stopped him cold. Virgin. She was a virgin. Every assumption he'd made shattered in an instant. He'd convinced himself. She was like her mother, manipulative, calculating, using her beauty as a weapon. But the woman trembling before him was none of those things. "You're lying," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "I'm not." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I worked 2 jobs for 5 years. I took care of my mother. I never had time for relationships. I never wanted anyone until you. Till you." The words struck him like a physical blow. She believed in him. In the fairy tale he'd constructed, in the lie, David turned away, his hands clenched into fists. He'd come too far to back down now. This was justice. This was what Mia Carter's daughter deserved. But when he looked back at Evelyn, saw her standing there in her innocent white nightgown, waiting for him to take what was his, he couldn't do it. "Go to bed," he said roughly. "What?" "I said go to bed. I'm sleeping in the guest room." Confusion flooded her face. "Did I do something wrong?" "No." The word came out harder than he intended. "Just go to sleep, Evelyn." He walked out, closing the door behind him. In the guest room, poured himself 3 fingers of whiskey and drank it in one. Burning gulp. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. The next morning, Evelyn found him in the kitchen, already dressed for work. She'd made coffee, toast, eggs. The domestic scene felt obscene.
"Good morning," she said tentatively.
"I wasn't sure how you liked your coffee, so I made it black." He took the cup without looking at her. "I have meetings all day. Don't wait up." "Oh, okay." She paused. "David, about last night." "Forget about last night." She flinched as if he'd struck her, but she didn't cry. She just nodded and started clearing the dishes. David left without another word. But in the elevator, he caught his reflection in the polished doors. He looked like his father, cold, distant, cruel. The realization nauseated him. At the office, he tried to focus. Contracts, mergers, numbers. But all he could see was Evelyn's face. The trust in her eyes. The way she'd tried to please him, despite knowing he didn't love her. "Mr. Blackwood." His assistant interrupted. "Your 4 o'clock is here." He glanced at the name. A chill ran through him. Mia Carter, the woman who destroyed his family, sat across from him 20 minutes later. Aged but still beautiful. Still smiling, that same calculated smile. "David Blackwood," she purred. "I heard you married my daughter. I'm surprised you didn't invite me to the wedding." His hatred crystallized into pure focus. "You weren't wanted there. That's cruel. Evelyn tells me you've been very generous, paying for my treatments." "How kind." His jaw clenched. "Where were you when my mother was dying? When your affair with my father left her alone in that hospital?" Mia's smile never wavered. "Ancient history, darling. Not to me." She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. "You married Evelyn to hurt me, didn't you? How deliciously vindictive. But here's something you don't know." "What?" "Evelyn doesn't know what I did. She thinks her father abandoned us. She has no idea I was the other woman." Mia's eyes glittered with malice. "She worships me, thinks I'm a saint. Can you imagine how she'd feel if she found out the truth? About me? About you?" David's blood ran cold. "Are you threatening to tell her?" "Threatening? No, darling. I'm offering you a choice. Keep playing the devoted husband. keep paying my bills, and your little secret stays safe. Or tell her the truth, and watch her hate you both." She stood, smoothing her dress. "Think about it, but don't think too long. I have expensive tastes." She walked out, leaving David alone with the crushing weight of his own trap. He'd married Evelyn to destroy her, but Mia Carter had just shown him how truly trapped they both were. When he came home that night, Evelyn was waiting. She'd made dinner. The table was set with candles. "I thought we could eat together," she said hopefully. "Start fresh." David looked at her. At the effort she'd made, at the hope in her eyes. "Evelyn," he said slowly, "there's something you need to know about your mother." Evelyn's fork clattered against her plate. "What about my mother?" David stared at the candles flickering between them. One sentence, and he could destroy everything. "Tell her the truth. Watch her world collapse." But the words died in his throat. "She called today," he said instead. "She's doing better. The new treatment is working." Relief flooded Evelyn's face. "That's wonderful. I'll visit her tomorrow." "No," the word came out too sharp. "She needs rest. I'll have the nurse send updates." Confusion flickered in her eyes, but she nodded. "Okay? If you think that's best." They ate in silence. David barely tasted the food. Across from him, Evelyn pushed pasta around her plate, stealing glances at him like she was trying to solve an impossible equation. "Can I ask you something?" she said finally. "What? Why did you really marry me?" His hand tightened around his wine glass. "I told you. I wanted to take care of you, but you don't even like me." The raw honesty in her voice cut through his defenses. She wasn't accusing, just stating a fact. "It's complicated," he said. "I'm not stupid, David." Her voice was soft but firm. "I know this marriage isn't normal. You won't touch me. You barely speak to me. But I need to know if there's any chance this could become real. Because if there isn't, I'd rather know now." He should have said no. Should have crushed that hope. Instead, he heard himself say, "Give it time." The smallest smile touched her lips. "Time, I can do that." The days that followed fell into a strange rhythm. Evelyn woke early, made breakfast, left notes in his briefcase. Small things. "Have a good day. Don't forget your meeting at 3. I'm proud of you." David told himself he was playing along, maintaining the facade. But when he found himself looking forward to those notes, anticipating her quiet presence in his home, he knew he was lying to himself. One evening, he came home to find her on the couch, asleep with medical bills scattered around her. Even in sleep, worry creased her forehead. He gathered the bills, his jaw tightening as he read them. Her mother's treatments were bleeding her dry. No wonder she'd married him. She was desperate, but as he watched her sleep, he realized desperation wasn't the only reason. She'd actually tried to make this work. To care for him despite his cruelty, he carried her to bed without waking her the next morning. Evelyn found all the bills gone. Paid in full, she found him in his study. "David, the bills." "You didn't have to. I'm your husband. It's my responsibility. This is too much. I can't. You can." He looked up from his laptop. "And you will. This discussion is over." She bit her lip, then crossed the room. Before he could react, she kissed his cheek. A brief, feather-light touch that burned like fire. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." She left before he could respond. David sat frozen, his hand touching the spot where her lips had been. What was happening to him? The answer came 2 weeks later when Evelyn collapsed at work. David's assistant called him in a panic. "Sir, your wife is at Mercy Hospital. They're running tests." He left his board meeting without explanation, driving through red lights, his heart hammering against his ribs. When had her well-being become more important than revenge? When had she become someone he couldn't bear to lose? He found her in a hospital room, pale but conscious. Relief nearly dropped him to his knees. "I'm fine," she said quickly. "Just exhausted. They're keeping me overnight for observation." He sat beside her bed, taking her hand before he could think better of it. "You scared me? I scared you?" Her eyes widened. "You actually care?" Of course I care. The admission slipped out naturally. Honestly, David. Her voice cracked. What are we doing? This marriage, it's tearing me apart. I wake up every day hoping you'll look at me the way you did when we first met. But that person doesn't exist, does he? You were pretending. Evelyn, let me finish. Tears streamed down her face. I've tried so hard to make you happy, to be a good wife, but I can't keep loving someone who won't let me in. So I need you to tell me the truth. All of it. Why did you really marry me? This was it. The moment of truth. He could tell her everything. About her mother. About his revenge plan. Watch her hate him, or he could lie again. Keep her in the dark. Protect whatever fragile thing was growing between them. I married you because the door burst open. A doctor rushed in, his face grave. Mrs. Blackwood, I'm afraid we found something concerning in your tests. Evelyn's hand tightened in David's. What is it? You're pregnant. The room tilted. David's world narrowed to 3 impossible words. You're pregnant. That's not possible, Evelyn breathed. She stopped, realization dawning. David saw the exact moment she remembered. Their wedding night. When he'd touched her, before he'd pulled away. How far along? David asked, his voice mechanical. About 6 weeks. Right after the wedding, Evelyn turned to David, her eyes wide with terror and something else. Hope. David, we're going to have a baby. He stood abruptly, his chair scraping against linoleum. I need air. David wait, but he was already gone, fleeing down the hallway, his mind screaming, a baby. Evelyn was carrying his child. The daughter of the woman who'd destroyed his family was carrying his child, and God help him, he wanted it. Wanted her. Wanted this life he'd never planned for? His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Congratulations on the baby. Such a shame if Evelyn found out what you really are. Meet me tonight. Usual place. Or I tell her everything. Mia Carter. Still playing her games? David stared at the message, then back at Evelyn's hospital room. Through the window, he could see her crying, one hand pressed to her stomach. He'd married her for revenge. But revenge had become love. And now Mia was going to take it all away. Unless he ended this first. David met Mia Carter in the same restaurant where he'd proposed to Evelyn. The irony wasn't lost on him. She sat in the corner booth, martini in hand, looking pleased with herself. Congratulations, father, she said mockingly. I trust you received my message. David slid into the seat across from her, his expression carved from ice. What do you want? The same thing I've always wanted. Money, security, comfort. She stirred her drink lazily. Your wife is quite wealthy now, isn't she? As your spouse, she has access to considerable assets. I think a monthly allowance of $50,000 would be reasonable. You're insane, am I? Or am I simply a mother, looking out for my interests? Mia leaned forward. Tell Evelyn the truth, and she'll leave you. She'll take that baby with her. You'll lose everything. Or pay me, keep me quiet, and live your happy little lie. She deserves to know what kind of woman you are, does she? Mia's smile turned cruel. Tell me, David, when you married my daughter with the express purpose of destroying her, were you thinking about what she deserved? The words hit like bullets, because she was right. He'd planned to ruin Evelyn, to make her suffer for sins she'd never committed. I've changed, he said quietly. Have you? Then prove it. Tell her the truth tonight. I'll wait. She checked her watch. You have 24 hours. After that, I tell her myself, and I'll make sure she knows every sordid detail of your revenge plan. David stood, his hands clenched at his sides. If you tell her, you lose her too. She'll hate you for what you did to my family, perhaps. But I'll have the satisfaction of watching you lose her first. Mia's eyes glittered with malice. And between the two of us, I think you have more to lose. David drove home in silence, Mia's ultimatum echoing in his mind. Tell Evelyn himself, or let her mother destroy them both. He found Evelyn in the nursery. She'd already started preparing it. Soft yellow walls. A crib by the window. She stood with one hand on her still flat stomach. Humming softly, she looked up when he entered, her expression hopeful and terrified at once. "You came back," she said. "I'm sorry I left."
It's David.
"About the baby, we need to talk." He closed the door behind him. "About everything." She sat on the small rocking chair, her hands folded in her lap, waiting. This was it. The moment he'd been dreading. The moment that would change everything. "Before I married you," he began, his voice rough, "there was something I needed to tell you about your mother. My mother." "What does she have to do with this?" "Everything. Evelyn, 15 years ago, your mother had an affair with my father." The color drained from her face. "What? She was his mistress?" "The affair destroyed my parents' marriage. My mother died alone because of what they did." "No." Evelyn stood, shaking her head violently. "That's not true. My mother would never, it is true. I have proof. Emails, photographs, hotel receipts." He pulled out his phone, showing her the evidence he'd compiled over the years. Evelyn stared at the screen, her face crumbling. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I married you for revenge." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. "What?" Her voice was barely a whisper. "I wanted to destroy you, the way your mother destroyed my family. I planned every moment, every conversation, the proposal, the wedding. All of it was a lie." Evelyn stumbled backward, hitting the wall. "You're lying. You're saying this to hurt me?" "I'm saying it because it's the truth." "But Evelyn, somewhere along the way, it stopped being revenge. I fell in love with you. Don't." She held up her hand, tears streaming down her face. "Don't you dare say you love me. Love doesn't do this. Love doesn't plan someone's destruction. I know. God, I know. But I'm trying to make this right. I'm telling you the truth." Before the door burst open, Mia Carter stood in the doorway, her face flushed with rage. "How dare you?" she snarled at David. "I said you had 24 hours. Evelyn turned to her mother, her face a mask of devastation. "It's true, isn't it? Everything he said. You destroyed his family." "Sweetheart, it's complicated. Did you have an affair with his father?" Mia hesitated. "Yes, but you don't understand, and you." Evelyn turned to David, her voice shaking with fury. "You married me to punish me for something I didn't even know about? You let me fall in love with you? You put a baby inside me. All while planning my destruction? I changed. Evelyn, please no." She grabbed her coat. "I can't breathe in here. I can't look at either of you, Evelyn. Wait." David reached for her. She jerked away from his touch. "Don't. Don't ever touch me again. Where are you going?" "Somewhere you're not." She pushed past both of them, running down the stairs. David followed, his heart in his throat. "Evelyn, please. Let me explain. Let me make this right." She whirled on him at the front door, her eyes blazing through tears. "Make it right? You can't make this right. You married me as revenge. You touched me. You made me believe in something that never existed. It exists now. I love you, you love me." She laughed bitterly. "You don't even know what love is. Love is what I gave you. Breakfast every morning. Notes in your briefcase. Trying to make you smile, even when you treated me like I was nothing. That's love. What you did? That's hatred. I know. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But our baby don't." Her hand went protectively to her stomach. "Don't use our child as leverage. I'll raise this baby alone before I let you teach them that love looks like this." She walked out into the rain. David followed, desperate. "Evelyn, it's pouring. At least let me drive you somewhere. I'd rather drown than spend another second with you." She walked down the driveway, her white dress soaking through. David stood in the doorway, watching her disappear into the storm. Behind him, Mia lit a cigarette, looking satisfied. "Well," she said. "That went well." Well, David turned to her, his eyes dead. "Get out of my house, excuse me. You heard me? Get out. I'm done playing your games." I could still tell her more. About how you researched her for months, how you manipulated her, how you paid people to push her into your path. Tell her. Tell her everything. It doesn't matter anymore. David's voice was hollow. She's already gone. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Mia's face. She'd won. But her victory felt strangely empty. She left without another word. David stood alone in his empty penthouse, listening to the rain. Somewhere out there, Evelyn was walking in the storm, pregnant, heartbroken, hating him, and he deserved every second of it. His phone buzzed. A text from Evelyn. "I'm at my friend Sarah's. Don't look for me. Don't call. I need time to figure out if I can ever forgive you, or if I should just let you go." David sank to the floor, his back against the door. For the first time since his mother's death, he wept. 3 weeks passed. 21 days of silence. David didn't call. Didn't text. Didn't show up at Sarah's apartment. He gave Evelyn the space she'd demanded, even though it was killing him. Instead, he spent those weeks destroying his own life. He went to his lawyer first, drafted divorce papers, signed over half his assets, created a trust fund for the baby. Evelyn would never want for anything, even if she never spoke to him again. Then he went to the police. "I want to confess to fraud," he told the detective. "Fraudulent marriage contract. Emotional manipulation. I have documentation of everything I did." The detective stared at him. "Mr. Blackwood, are you certain? This could result in serious legal consequences." "I'm certain. My wife deserves justice, even if it's against me." He called his board of directors next. "Resigned as CEO? Effective immediately." "I'm not the man this company needs," he told them. "I've made choices that compromise my integrity. You deserve better leadership." His assistant found him clearing out his office on a Friday night. "Sir, what are you doing?" "What I should have done 3 weeks ago." He looked at her. "I need you to do something for me. Find Evelyn's mother, Mia Carter. I want her cut off from every account I've been funding. No more treatments. No more allowances. Nothing, sir. Won't that make things worse with your wife?" "Probably. But it's the right thing to do. Mia Carter doesn't get to profit from destroying 2 families. The assistant hesitated. "For what it's worth, sir, Mrs. Blackwood called the office yesterday. She asked how you were doing." David's heart stopped. "What did you tell her?" "The truth. That you've been destroying your life trying to make things right." He sat down heavily. "Did she say anything else?" "She said to tell you she's thinking about coming home, but she needs one more thing from you first." "What?" "The truth about your mother. Not the version filtered through anger. The real story." David drove to the cemetery that night. His mother's grave sat under an old oak tree, headstone simple and clean. He knelt in the grass, his hand on the cold marble. "Hi, Mom," he whispered. "I'm sorry it's been so long." He told her everything. About Evelyn, the revenge plan, the baby. How he'd fallen in love with the daughter of the woman who'd destroyed her. "I thought I was honoring you by making them pay, but I think you'd be ashamed of me." His voice cracked. "You've always taught me that hatred destroys the hater more than the hated. I didn't understand that until now." He pulled out his phone, opened the voice recorder, and started talking. About his mother, her kindness, her laughter, the way she'd loved his father even after the betrayal, how she'd forgiven him on her deathbed. "She never wanted revenge," he said into the phone. "She wanted me to be happy, to find love, to break the cycle of pain." Tears streamed down his face. "I failed her, but maybe I can still honor her memory by choosing forgiveness instead of hate." He saved the recording and sent it to Evelyn with a message. "This is the truth you asked for. I love you. I love our baby. And if you never want to see me again, I'll understand. But please know that you changed me. You made me remember what it means to be human." He sat by his mother's grave until sunrise, then drove home to his empty penthouse. The door was unlocked. His heart hammered as he walked inside. Evelyn stood by the window, her back to him, one hand on her slightly rounded stomach. "You gave away half your fortune," she said without turning. "Yes, you resigned from your company. Yes, you tried to turn yourself into the police. They told me I did what I should have done weeks ago. Take responsibility." She turned to face him. Her eyes were red, but clear, determined. "Right. I listened to your recording. About your mother and And I understand now. Not why you did what you did, but why you couldn't let go of the pain. She walked toward him slowly. My mother destroyed your family. You wanted justice? I can't blame you for that, Evelyn. Let me finish. What you did was unforgivable. The lies, the manipulation, the revenge plan. All of it was cruel and wrong.
Oh.
His heart shattered. I know, but her voice softened. You stopped. You fell in love with me despite your plan. You told me the truth even though it cost you everything. You gave up your company, your money, your reputation. You tried to make it right in the only way you knew how. It wasn't enough. It'll never be enough. No, it won't. She took his hand, placing it on her stomach. But it's a start. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't forgive you. Not yet. Maybe not ever completely. But I'm willing to try to move forward. For our baby, and because, despite everything, I still love you. God help me. I still love you. David dropped to his knees, his arms around her waist, his forehead pressed against her stomach. I don't deserve you. No, you don't. She ran her fingers through his hair. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is whether you'll spend the rest of your life trying to deserve me. He looked up at her, his eyes wet. I will. I swear I will. Then stand up. We have a lot to talk about. A lot to work through. This won't be easy. I know. There'll be days I hate you. Days I remember what you did and want to leave. I know. But there might also be days where I remember how you changed. How you chose me over your revenge. How you're trying to be better. I'll take whatever days you give me. She pulled him to his feet, then pressed her hand to his chest, feeling his heartbeat. My mother came to see me yesterday, she said quietly. She tried to justify what she did. Said your father seduced her? That she was young and foolish. She wanted my forgiveness. What did you tell her? I told her I needed time. That I couldn't forgive her yet. That she'd hurt too many people. Evelyn's voice was steady. I also told her that if she ever tried to manipulate you or blackmail us again, she'd lose me forever. That I was choosing my own family now. You and this baby. Evelyn, we're not the sum of our parents' mistakes, she said. We get to choose who we become. You chose revenge. Then you chose love. I'm choosing to believe in second chances. She kissed him, soft, tentative, full of hope and fear and possibility. I love you, he whispered against her lips. I'll spend forever proving it. Then start now. Take me home. You are home. She smiled, and for the first time in weeks it reached her eyes. Then we're already where we need to be. 6 months later, David stood in the hospital delivery room, holding his daughter for the first time. She had Evelyn's eyes and his mother's smile. What should we name her? Evelyn asked, exhausted but radiant. David looked at his wife, at the woman who'd saved him from himself, and at the tiny miracle in his arms. Grace, he said. Her name is Grace, because that's what Evelyn had given him. Grace he didn't deserve. Grace that changed everything. And as he sat beside her bed, their daughter sleeping between them, David understood something his mother had tried to teach him years ago. Love wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about evening scores or making people pay for their sins. Love was about choosing forgiveness, choosing hope, choosing to believe that people could change. He'd spent 15 years in darkness, consumed by hatred. But Evelyn had been his light. And now, holding his daughter, he finally understood what it meant to be free. The past didn't have to define them. They could write a new story, one of redemption, of second chances, of love that grew from the ashes of revenge. Evelyn reached for his hand. Squeezing it gently, "We're going to be okay," she said. And for the first time in 15 years, David believed it. They were going to be okay. Together. The end.